All right, guys. Shogun episode 7 titled A Stick of Time. I'm back. I'm very sad that I missed you guys last week, but you killed it. I really enjoyed your coverage because I edited the video, so I got to listen to the whole thing. I had a blast listening to you guys. I thought you covered a lot of good stuff. Let's hear what you guys thought first. Let's start the discussion that way, and then we can just go from there.
Yeah, so A Stick of Time, episode 7. This was probably the most negative I felt leaving an episode. And I know Jimmy, me and you were talking on the side. You're probably closer aligned to me than maybe the general public. I don't really know. I haven't done a lot of internet searching yet on what people are saying about this episode, but I really thought that it did not feel good as a 7 out of 10th series like episode. Like it just felt like it was like a slow moving episode again. Like this combined with the last one, it really makes you kind of in hindsight look like the plot's been halted. Like we haven't been spending a lot of time moving the plot at the pace that we did through the first 5 episodes. And I was totally comfortable with slowing down, working on their characters for episode 6. But now that it's happened twice in a row, and I actually think this episode, even with the quote unquote character work it did, I felt like a lot of the character interactions fell flat. They didn't progress anything. I was almost confused at what the takeaways for some of the interactions are. I don't want to spoil some of those thoughts until we get there. It's still above quality, above average quality and just normal TV, but I really felt like this was the first episode where I wasn't too happy with it. And I don't want to get into more specifics yet, but Paul, since I haven't even heard what your opinion on the on episode 7 was, what did you think?
I mean, I liked it a lot. I think I appreciated it more on the second watch through, which has been surprising me. I feel like I do actually grab a lot more details during the second watch, and it adds a little bit more to everything. And I kind of understand that feeling that you have of negativity, but I also really enjoyed it, and I feel like there's some behind the scenes things where once we finish the season, we could look back at this episode and be like, wow, like they were trying to trick us. There were some secrets being held, like without going too far into it. Like Toranaga might be scheming everybody, and
Yeah.
I mean, we'll obviously discuss more, but like Gin gets into it when they have their stick of time, which titled the episode. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously
Hmm.
that was a huge scene. So yeah, I don't know. I really love it. I will say the end, both times watching the end happen, and I'm like, really? Damn, man. That's so weird how that worked out. So obviously emotions everywhere because so much did happen all in like 1 second. So it was a little weird, but overall I do love this episode.
And let me add a comment onto my reaction based on what you just said there about Toranaga. A huge part of my disappointment was how it felt like everything we've known about him and seen up to this point, he's been this strategic genius. Everything goes his way. When he's quiet for a reason. When he has a conversation, it's for a reason. And it felt like that all went out the window this episode. And I think there's a lot of room for them to fix it. So like in the next episode, they can completely change my opinion looking back. But right now, like I didn't think I took anything from that Lady Jin conversation. I thought the Mariko and Buntaro stuff took up way too much time to have pretty much no movement forward in their relationship. And Nagakado, like he's been pretty much the worst character since the first time he's been introduced. And I feel like that just kind of stuck with it. Just a bunch of my just negative opinions coming out because I'm gonna still be hyping up the episode as we're going through it. So I just want like basically this is the only time I've been able to talk about Shogun in a slightly negative light, so I'm just going to ride with it because it's never going to happen again. I'm pretty confident we're going to bounce back in episode 8, but I need to point it out when I am disappointed a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, I feel you there. I feel out both of you guys actually, because let me first say my thoughts on the last episode, and I'm going to
Mhm.
keep this quick, and I'll pepper it in. I said I'll salt it in. I'll pepper it in throughout the episode when it makes sense. But I think it'll make sense to start with what I feel about episode 6 because it'll give you a reason why I was upset a little bit about 7. So I think one of the best parts about episode 6 was getting our background and the connection between Mariko and Oshiba, right? That
Mhm.
was phenomenal. Figuring out their backstory, getting more about Mariko and having her conversation with Toranaga. That was so good to me. And I'm not going to go too much in episode 6 other than that, just because for now, it makes sense for me to talk about it because I'm upset about Mariko in this episode. I
Hmm.
think that they put her on the back burner, and I think that, to be honest, I don't understand why she still has the I don't want to be alive mentality after that great conversation with Toranaga. I thought that that conversation's point was to let her know that she has a purpose. So I feel like that conversation with Toranaga came out of nowhere almost. And meaning the conversation with her saying, please take my life or let me take my own life.
Hmm.
So that was something that bothered me.
Just like
Like
regression for her as a character, right?
I just like, to your point, Luke, you're saying that episode 7 in an entire series, not episode 1 or a season 1, episode 7 of Game of Thrones, where we have 8 seasons coming, right?
Hmm.
Even if there's 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, there's 1 season. So episode 7 is deep into a single series. I mean, there is 3 hours left. 3 hours, a lot can happen, but I didn't expect us to get that push, that purpose for Mariko in episode 6. That really got me going, really got me excited. And then in episode 7, really, really just put her on the back burner and then regress her a little bit. I'm
Hmm.
sure they'll figure it out, and I'm sure she'll come right back into the limelight, into the front lines in episode 8, 9, 10, or whatever. But for now, it's just a little confusing.
Yeah, you put that better than I did. That's just how I felt. And then JB might as well have not even been in this episode. He had a really funny
Yeah.
moment, like one of the funniest of the entire show, which he always does. But like he didn't get a lot of development either. I don't know. I think it'll all come out. Maybe, and usually when we go through these podcasts, anything I feel slightly negative about, we talk it out and I feel better. So maybe that'll be the case here. But did you want to
Yeah.
add anything else about episode 6?
The only thing I wanted to say about episode 7 additionally was that I said I saw both of your points because Paul, no matter what, I really and your point is this as well, Luke. I really enjoy these episodes. And I don't know if this is my least favorite. I think it's the one that I see the most problems with in my own head of things that I didn't really like. I'm not saying logically, Monday morning quarterbacking it after episode 8, 9, and 10, Paul, you might be right, and you probably will be right, and we'll be like, damn, that was
Hmm.
freaking sweet, because I really don't expect Toranaga to have been bested like that, because that is so out of character. Luke, you already talked about it, and we'll talk about it more later, but that was another big strife I had with this episode. I didn't understand how Toranaga got bested, and then Jen herself called him out for it and was like, you have a plan, right? Because this is bullshit, basically. So
Oh
we'll
yeah.
talk about it. But yeah, there are some things, and those
Hmm.
things might easily get fixed. So it'll be something interesting to talk about in the later episodes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else, Paul, before we jump in?
No, no, just yeah, I think it'll be a good discussion that we'll have because I already
Yeah.
got some things lined up, and I
Now
think
talk me
we
off the ledge,
always
man. Talk me
I
off the
think
ledge. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
we always reflect more at the end of the discussion. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though, because I will say last episode, Crimson Sky with the hi hi ho, I was ready to
Hmm.
go. I thought
Yeah.
that was the
You're
alley
ready.
oop, and we were gonna dunk on episode 7, but I got that. But without anything else, yeah, let's just jump in to this crazy
Cool.
Hi hi ho,
flashback.
ready to go, dude.
Yeah.
So littered throughout episode 7 were those flashback scenes. We get the initial right off the bat, and then we get a couple down the road. So let's lump it all together, just talk through it real quick. It's the flashback takes place 46 years ago, and we find out that Toranaga at this time he was in his first ever battle and his first victory because he's never lost, and that he was 12 years old. So that tells us that he's 58 now, which is interesting. I don't know how old I really in the back of my head thought he was, but it's so funny to see a young little Toranaga and Hiromatsu just at this battle, which he's the man. He's been there since day one for him. But let us talk through this entire interaction because what it is Toranaga winning the battle and going to see the other opposing side leader, Mizoguchi, who surrenders and actually honors Toranaga and is very not excited, but he's very honored to have been defeated by this young warlord is what he calls him. And then the reveal later on is that the legend of this moment wasn't as pretty as it was really painted out to be. And when Toranaga went to execute the other opposing guy, it took him 9 swings instead of one, but he was freaking in 6th grade, 12 years old. Like, how do you even
Yeah,
blame him?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really shows you the horrors that he's been through. We already knew about the hostage situation, even though
Mhm.
we get a little bit more detail on that later on. But like to do this, to be called upon to be this dude's second, first of all, to witness himself or witness him commit seppuku is just crazy. And then
Mhm.
to have to be his second is nuts. he probably didn't do anything. He was probably just on the horse the whole battle, but maybe he was giving
Our
commands.
boy did something, dude.
But that was probably like his first kill.
But that, I mean,
That's a
that's
huge assumption.
so true because knowing Toranaga and knowing how the story goes in real life and him talking about, myths and stories versus actual facts, he's 12. I don't care if you're the biggest badass in the world. If you're 12, you're gonna be shitting your pants, kind of like his brother said, when he's in the middle of this huge battle. Whether you're on the horse, whether you're on the ground swinging the sword, either way, it's going to be scary as hell for a
Hmm.
12-year-old.
Yeah, the only other thing from the scene that I noted was that Mizuguchi, one of these surrenderings, references fate again. He says it was fate that led him to start this unwinnable war. And they just constantly refer to fate a lot this episode. So it's just something to highlight is that is such a big view on life is like you just have fate. Like
Yeah.
you don't have any control. It's just fate. Meanwhile, you got like Lady Ochiba, who's like, "Fuck fate, dude. I just grab him by
Yeah.
the face." So it's interesting how they view it though as like not a being, but like an object or something like out there. It's
Hmm.
interesting.
And another
Y-
important theme it's like tropey in a way where history's written by the winners kind of thing, and that gets reemphasized here. That Toranaga, it's not as pretty of a picture as the story's being told. So we get to see that here, which maybe he didn't have all these clean victories in his past, and maybe they're trying to plant the seed that some of his feats are a little overemphasized. But I hate to go that way. That seems like the
Yeah,
opposite of
I
what I
don't.
want to do.
Yeah, I just think this more emphasizes the fact that Tornaga doesn't need anything to be glorified. He doesn't want anything to be glorified. It's a great parallel to his son, Nagakado, who just wants this huge myth story to happen. He wants to be in the
Hmm.
storybooks because he hasn't had his first real battle, even though technically I mean he's had a fight. We saw that. That was the season, but I guess he means like battle.
Yeah.
And he wants to be like his dad and he glorifies all this stuff. And the point is, and Toranaga says it himself, the only people that want to jump into these battles are the people that have never done it before. It sucks. It's not
Hmm.
anything good. You make it through, you live, that's your reward. And everyone always glorifies it when really you're like, the thing freaking sucked, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
So going back to what you said, Paul, I believe it was in the last episode with Sugiyama's death and the CGI for that. The show started off so hot with the CGI for this battle, with the head being chopped off, and and then even obviously the seppuku with them actually showing like the guts starting to come out when
Hmm.
when he stabbed himself. It really started off great, I thought, this episode.
Yeah. And honestly, I think the vibes continued, and I got completely tricked. Spoiler on Psyche. Is that that's how it's pronounced? Psyche Dono is what he usually says is with the honorific. Sound right? Saeki is where I'm going with
Yeah,
Psyche.
my other guess would be like Saeki, but I,
Psyche sounds fine to me, and our one of our listeners gave us a great couple
Pronunciation guide, yeah.
translations,
Hmm.
and I'm not. You guys do so well, and I just keep butchering it. But we thank you for hitting us up on Instagram and letting us know, and you can definitely let us know about the brother's name as well after this episode.
Yeah, we're East Coast boys. We got some bad accents over here. But
I'm the worst of all you guys.
anyway, Toranaga in modern day now is is meeting the envoy of his half brother. I think they clarified half brother in the last
Yeah,
episode, Psyche, who has the coolest looking armor. I love all of the white look that they roll up in. And the couple things we could just talk about right away is, the whole political advisors of Tornaga are there, like his son Hiromatsu, JB's even there, and he gets called up and meets Psyche for a second, which was a funny moment because this guy is super charming. He's
yeah,
cocky. I
man.
love everything about him. I wanted to like him, and I was convincing myself that he was going to be good, but it felt like things were starting to be too good to be true. But I don't know. What was your guys' initial reaction for his introduction when he's messing with Toranaga about like, look at your shitty army, all this stuff, and then he's
Yeah,
cracking jokes.
I'm trying not to be like 14-year-old view on things, but I'm like, dude, penis helmet, like 100%. Like, I'm like I don't know, man. If anybody watches South Park out there, when Cartman goes in the future and like there's scientists fighting the other scientists and they have the weird shit on their head, that's what it reminded me of. So it was kind of hard to
Yeah.
like take him seriously sometimes when that was in the back of my head, but totally exactly what you were saying, Luke. I found myself liking him. I was like, oh, he's a little charismatic, like he's
Hmm.
very in
Charming.
in this area where everybody's kind of soft spoken because you don't want to insult everybody. He's like loud and out there. So I thought he was gonna be an actual bro, but yeah, obviously he turns pretty quick. But I exactly 100% what you said about the armor, that like gray silver look,
It's
that would
cool.
be it looks so clean.
Hmm.
I was about to text you guys and say this guy's the man in the beginning, and I literally was like putting my fingers out to text, and then I was like, there's still 45 minutes in this episode.
Yeah.
So
So
I just saw this guy, like you said, you guys nailed it. Charismatic, good looking dude, looks like a badass. He's talking back and forth with our boy Toranaga, where he's not scared of him. He's laughing, he's funny. He's saying, "Let's go get drunk." I was like, this guy's a beast, man. This is our man. And I guess I don't know. Should we have seen it coming? Just because it is funny that they were so worried about this guy, where they were so worried what it was going to be like with the brother showing up, and then he was literally just like, for a second, messing with him, acting like he was all like stern, and then he was like, "Ah, bro, I got you, my boy," and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh man," I didn't even think. I was just like, "Man, I want to love this guy." I'm not even going to think about him turning on us, but it probably should have been seen by us just by what everyone was thinking or talking and saying about him.
so I was thinking that they didn't really give us a whole lot. I mean, we just kind of really learned about him at the end of last episode, so we didn't really have enough time to theorize on him. I didn't
Hmm.
even know that, like, I didn't even think Ishido or Lady Chiba even knew that Saiki existed. He said he looks over Yuzenji, so I'm not exactly sure where that is.
Just a region, probably. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that must not get any action at all because he's
I,
saying
yeah,
he looks good, he's chill.
the
Yeah.
still waters. But I have a question for you guys that kind of goes along with that. Um, So he has a line where he's like, "Hey, I spied a decimated army on my way here. Like, was that you?" And he was like, "Yeah, the earthquake hit us pretty bad." Do you think that Saki had his mind made up, or do you think he was on the fence and then saw the
Oh
decimated army and was like,
no,
"Oh, I don't have a chance"?
he was already a councilman.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
I was
already
gonna say that
promised.
he was on the
Yeah.
council, but
I mean, yeah, you can do whatever you want. I think what you were about to just say is you can tell them I'm on the council, and then if you think Toranaga is going to win, you can just say, "Hey, I'm on Toranaga's side," just pretty much like Yabu would do, or
yeah,
Toranaga pretty much did himself, where he was a council member and then a regent, and then he had to move out, roll out because he doesn't believe in what they're doing. So technically, I guess you can do whatever the hell you want. You just better hope that your side wins.
hmm
But the problem that you end up seeing with Psyche is of all these characters that we meet, whether they're good, bad, gray, we usually see that most of them are honorable. And that's what they really, really put emphasis on. But Psyche obviously is not because he fully bullshitted Toranaga here and was already a regent, played him like a fiddle, and then turned the tables on him. Those things obviously happen in war, but it's your brother, bro.
Hmm.
He's supposed to be a little bit more honorable than that. And going back to him really quick, I was expecting when they first started explaining him, like, make sure you bow and don't say anything. Make sure the engine doesn't say anything. Blah blah blah. I was expecting like for all of our listeners who love our comparisons, a Stannis comparison. Like I thought Stannis like more like stern. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't have thought that because that's almost like Toranaga, where he's very just like stern, non-emotional. But I was expecting someone like that because it made it seem like if you step out of line for a second, he's going to change his mind. He's not going to come with us and work with the army.
Hmm. Yeah, he could have been more of the erratic type, like the hate to Game of Thrones compare again, but like the wild, like I don't know, Euron Greyjoy eccentric. But I don't know, they could have gone anyway, and I like the way that they went. But like you're saying, Paul, they didn't plant the seed early enough for us to have time to think that this could happen. Like it just happened. He comes and 15 minutes of screen time later, he betrays us. So it's like it was like a political Game of Thrones moment, but the payoff wasn't really like built up to be a super satisfying scene, is just how I took it.
Yeah.
And it was still fun at face value, but again, like the him getting decimated by the earthquake, then his brother betrays him seems like overkill. Because I was already in the opinion that we are fighting the biggest uphill battle before, even if he
Yeah.
decided to join his army, which is what they kind of said in episode 6. But yeah, so let's keep going here. A lot of things happen after Saiki shows up and he starts to get comfortable before their dinner scene that night. And what we have is quick mention of Toranaga buying Kiku again, this time for a week for his brother to entertain him. That's going to have more conversation in the later scenes. But
Hmm.
we also get to see JB have one of his longer scenes of the episode, and he is the same freaking character over and over about his ship and his boys. He just wants to get the hell out of there. Like I know that was a fear early on for me, but like he totally is just so done with Japan. Like now Mariko's kind of distancing herself from him. Like he has no reason not to like stay here. And he mentions like, you're giving me all these gifts, but like what am I doing here? Like you're not giving me any roles. I'm just kind of being your show boy, is what it is,
Yeah.
the kind of vibe that I got. So what else did you guys think about that scene?
Totally agree. Totally agree that like he's almost been stuck at this point. Like ever since he got like his first gift and title, he hasn't really done anything besides be there and just kind of be an image almost. And like he John does go and like save him, and obviously that's why he gets more titles and gifts bestowed upon him. But I feel like he's been stuck since like episode like 4 or 5. He hasn't really done anything, and I know he's getting frustrated by it too. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's wild that Toranaga this whole time just has not given him anything about any information about his ship, when he can have it, what he controls, what even happened with his men. So. I can definitely see why he's getting so frustrated.
And
And
he owes
Mariko,
Toranaga owes JB some explanation, because this is like our count, like the fourth time he saved his life. Toranaga said
Yeah.
twice, which I think that's
yeah,
undercounting. But it's time to start giving him some more information here. That's what I
yeah,
think.
and like,
I was expecting by now for them to be homies, and they're
Right.
not. You
Hmm.
know, they're fine, meaning Toranaga respects him enough, but they're not friends. They're
Right.
not friendly. This is another episode where Tornaga's like, I'm not speaking about this, and pretty much turns his back to JB. We thought that when he saved him from the earthquake, that was going to be the turning point, and it really wasn't. Yes, he got all these gifts and blah, blah, blah. But back to my point from episode like 3 or something, maybe 4, he's a prisoner. That's who he is. He has a use to
Hmm.
Toranaga,
Yeah.
and Toranaga is just going to use him. I still have hopes. I do think they're going to be homies. I can't imagine it doesn't go any other way. Come on.
Hmm.
But I thought it would have been by now. And yeah, we'll get into it more once we get a couple more scenes with JB and Toranaga.
the last line was promising. John says, "Tell him I'm ready for whatever our fate may bring." This was another fate reference, but like he was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I don't know if that was just a show to try and get on Toranaga's good side, but I don't know. It seems like there's a little something there."
JB
Maybe
has a good point.
it's just like the last thing on his mind, I guess. It's I'm trying to play devil's advocate for Toranaga. Like he has so much other shit going on. But still, this guy saves your life every freaking day. So it's like, give him something, throw him a bone.
Yeah, I mean JB, he says, "All right, let me leave." No? Okay, fine. Then let me do something for you. No? Then what the hell am I doing at all? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that is where he's at right now, and I totally get it. I get the frustration.
Yeah. It's even boring. I'm not boring, but it's frustrating as an audience member as well. So exactly. We're right there with JB. But these next couple of scenes are just quick hitters again. Like we're still kind of in the setup of this episode where we see the tea house and we see Omi go by, and he's still all in on Kiku, or at least he wants to talk to her about something, but he is completely done with that lifestyle now because JB, not the lifestyle, the actual tea house itself, he just hates John so much that like whatever he
Yeah.
touches, he considers soiled. So the weirder part of that conversation was, why was Lady Jin so willing to just give up that information that JB wasn't actually interested in Kiku, and hinting at the idea about him looking at Mariko, which plays into him pushing Buntaro later. All of that felt like it was so much screen time for almost no notable payoff.
Yeah, no immediate payoff at least. And it's weird because when they have this conversation, meaning Omi and Gin, they don't really show anything else besides her saying that. But like he could have gone in, maybe she was inviting him in and they discussed it more, and maybe there was motivation behind that because like Omi doesn't really talk to Buntaro and like say anything about it. He kind of talks to him a little bit, but it's more just like your wife just does her duty very well. And like I don't
Yeah.
know if he's like playing.
He's stirring the pot, dude.
Yeah, he's
Mhm.
trying to do it, I guess. I don't know what he's doing.
Well,
But
I'll tell you what he's doing. He hates JB. He wants Buntaro to kill him. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't want JB around. But I would say that
oh yeah,
are we gonna go with Jin or Gin?
I
Did we
I
you guys
I
talked about this last week and I can't remember.
I think we split. I thought one of them said Gin. That's why I've been saying it like that.
Lady G.
Yeah,
Lady G is totally the thing now. Who was Big Papa last week?
It's
That
the
was
father.
the
It's
yeah,
it's
that
the
was
other
the father.
father. Yeah.
head of the
Mhm.
Yeah,
church,
Martine's homie. Um,
Big Mama.
so my thoughts with yeah, with Lady G are that when you look at it, it doesn't make sense with the overall storyline that we've seen so far with her because if she tells Omi that kind of stuff about JB, that goes from Omi to Buntaro, which then goes from Buntaro maybe killing JB, which is not good for Toranaga. And none of that's good for Toranaga. Any of that
Mhm.
strife in his camp is not good. So she goes to him later and she wants his help and wants to be on his side. So that really doesn't seem to make any sense. The only thing I can think of is going back more towards her conversation that she has later during her stick of time when she says, I was nothing and I built myself up. And what she has to build herself up at this point in her life and what her currency, quote unquote, is it's like the little whispers. That's her currency. She has gossip. She has facts.
Yeah.
She has things that she can use on people, right? So when she's talking to Omi, he's pissed. He doesn't want to come in, but he wants Kiku, and he's not gonna take. Oh, hey, here's a couple bucks. Get out of my face.
Yeah.
But if she says like, oh, JB, he wasn't really looking at Kiku. He was looking at someone else. That might be enough for him to be like, oh, all right, I feel you. And then he walks out and he has a little bit of something to walk away from.
Mhm.
Or she
That's my
gets
only
something.
thoughts.
She gets something out of him, like in their conversation.
Right.
Like while he's
Right.
mad and frustrated, he lets something slip, and she gets information that way. So for being introduced last episode, was it 2 episodes ago? Mama G, whatever you want to call her,
Lady G, baby.
Lady G, bro.
Lady G. She is a great character. Love having her on screen, honestly.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I have more to say on her, but I want to wait until her conversation with Toranaga. So
Yeah.
we do have that another quick scene where Hiramatsu visits his favorite granddaughter Fuji, and just like Mariko later in this episode, these girls are just so ready to kill themselves at the drop of a freaking dime. She's hyped. She's like, "Oh, thank you for." He delivers the ashes of
Yeah.
her. I'm assuming her husband and her child.
Child. Yeah.
Um, from Osaka, like after that whole execution happened, and that's great. She's like excited. She's like, it's a memorable item for her. And then she's like, oh yeah, as soon as this battle's over, like I'll get to kill myself and be with them. It just, but like, what the
It's
hell is
crazy.
wrong with these people, man? I
Yeah.
do love Fuji, but this scene, like, I don't know. I don't have any other comments besides, wow.
Mhm. I thought she was kind of getting a little bit more reason to live. Like she was actually kind of warming up being around Mariko and JB and being the head of the house and everything. But yeah, when this happened and she says this, I was like, nope, she's like back to square one. Maybe she just doesn't have a purpose. She doesn't have a fight or feel like,
Hmm.
and she doesn't have a feel like she has a reason to live or something. But yeah, like it's just insane to me how they just casually drop. Yep, and this is done, I can't wait to end it.
That
Think about it.
mindset.
Yeah. I mean, who are we to tell them about their culture and their honor? But we freaking love these characters and we don't want them to be thinking that.
Mhm.
Obviously, we know based on these characters that this is just how it is. and they feel like without their husband and son, or Mariko without her father, without a purpose that they were whatever their purpose was supposed to be, without that, what's the point, right? Fine, but we love them, so we want them to live, and we
Mhm.
want them. And we'll get to Mariko in a little bit because that is just so frustrating. Fuji's frustrating as well, but Mariko's even more frustrating because I really thought she went over the hill on that topic and was ready to just do the damn thing and be Team Toranaga and
Mhm.
fulfill her purpose to what her father thought her purpose was, what she thinks her purpose is, all that stuff. But we have two of our favorite characters. They don't want to be friends with us anymore. They just want to leave us.
So here's a question then. Is there any world where we get a happy ending and Toranaga ends up becoming Shogun, like we win the war, and then they're like, yes, we win. And then both Mariko and Fuji, like either or actually like gets their version of their own happy ending, or are they both going to find purpose in the next 3 episodes that they didn't find over the first 7? Because you bring it up, Jimmy, and the more you say it, the more I'm like, yeah, like we spent all this work to build Mariko up to having that purpose. We're introducing John, building that relationship, showing her there's more to this world than just these rituals. What's going
Yeah.
to change now that hasn't happened in the first 7 hours of this show? That's going to be believable at this point, because right now, I mean, they're both ready to go at the moment's notice.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Mariko stays alive because she and John become a thing, and
Hmm.
that's her purpose. But Fuji is going to have a happy ending where she survives this whole scenario. But then going back to what you said about shock value of like the culture and then not being used to how this culture is, her happy ending is probably going to be what makes us sad.
And I think that's good writing, is to do it that
Yeah,
way.
you go
Otherwise,
one and
what's
you
the
go the
point
other.
of like reinforcing this constantly if
Yep.
they're not going to go through it? And I don't mean that in like a cynical, psychotic way. Like if the writers are gonna do this and make this part of their characters in every single episode, I think they need to follow through.
Right.
Unless JB is the catalyst that changes all of Japan, and it's like a magical,
Yeah.
like I don't buy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, because this is the turning point. This is the dinner. And that seems to be a common theme, that Shogun loves to make the
Yeah.
dinner scenes freaking the best. Because
Yeah.
this scene starts off, vibes are up, we're drinking, everybody's there. We have both armies' heads there. Everybody that's a council member or advisor to either of the brothers is in attendance. They have their sake poured, they're eating fish, all this stuff. And they start off with talking about stories, and Nagakato's asking about his dad when he was younger. Of course, he wants to hear these from a different perspective. Toranaga's always got his mouth shut, so he's never blabbing about
Yeah.
his historic moments. And it starts off fun, and everybody's laughing, and it just quickly turns when Saiki starts bringing up a dishonorable story that makes Toranaga look bad, and then it just starts escalating and escalating and escalating to the point where he just flips, and everybody in his army just blocks off any route, any escape, and he has complete control of the over the entire area, and goes on to deliver 2 summons. The first being Toranaga needs to go to Ishido to pay for his punishment, which that we saw that
Hmm.
coming from a mile away once they said that he's on Ishido's side, because he admits that he is the newest councilman on the whole regent squad there. That's
Hmm.
something that's going to be fun to talk about. And then the second part of it was Nagakato gets hit, almost takes his punishment of basically also having to be put to death because of his killing of Jozen. So a lot goes
Right.
down in this quick little scene, but this was the first one where I just like the entire vibe of the episode shifted.
Yeah.
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 It was pretty nuts. They're talking, and yeah, all of a sudden the story about him shitting himself and riding on the horse, and he always
Yeah.
felt for that horse, and he has the cup of sake up, but nobody's cheering with him. Then everything gets
You hear a
tense.
pin drop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then he's like, "All right, so what should I get if I participate in this Crimson Sky? Should I become the ruler of Izu?" And then everything gets tense. Yabu looks up like, "What'd you say?" And then yeah, out comes the scroll. Doesn't even hand it to Hiramatsu. He throws it to him. And that's just
Yeah.
an insult on top of everything else going on. Hiramatsu does a double take, like, what did you just do? And yeah, the reaction from Toranaga when Nagakato reaches out, do not accept it. That
Yeah.
was whew, that was tense.
I can't imagine that Toranaga doesn't know his own brother. I understand that Hiramatsu said they hadn't seen each other in too long. We don't know really anything about this brother and the relationship. Did they grow up together? He looks younger?
He is
Is
a
he a
half
half brother?
brother.
Yeah, is he a half brother that they didn't even really grow up together? I mean, he has the story about Toranaga being taken as a hostage when he's young, so he must have been around for some stuff. So my thoughts are I'm going to be really upset if Toranaga didn't know this was coming, whether it was, hey, my brother's probably going to sandbag me, and also let me just put some scouts out to see if any enemy troops are coming. I just can't see what the point is though. Like I don't know what his plan could be. He could bring himself to Osaka to surrender himself if that's part of the plan. He doesn't need Psyche to do it. I can't figure it out, but I really hope that there is some kind of explanation because the fact that we have everybody like whispering about Psyche, and then he
Mhm.
fakes us out, and he's like, I'm your homie, I'm your friend, we're bros, like let's get drunk together." And then like to us on screen, immediately he just changes right back to I'm the antagonist, and I'm going to talk some shit. It just seems like this should have been a thing that was Tornaga knew was coming, and
Are
that's one of
we
my big problems with this whole episode.
right? And is it? I guess that kind of links back to what I was saying before. Like, are we overestimating Toranaga's abilities, or is this just going to be a great reveal that happens as soon as he gets to Osaka next episode, and then we're all back here freaking winding it up again, and nobody cares about anything, and then we're all
Yeah.
good. I am worried
If
though that there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough there, like you're saying. We couldn't have guessed it. Like, what was there? What plans was there? Who? What other allies have been mentioned that weren't physically there? I don't see
right.
the pathway unless Lady G has something up her sleeve that conversation had a double meaning.
So if Lady G, who is not supposed to be Tornaga status when it comes to war, if
Hmm.
she knew to say out loud, I can't believe you didn't have any scouts to make sure there was no enemy troops coming your way. What the hell's up with that? If she can think of that, then Toranaga definitely should, whether he is who we think he is or he might be glorified by stories.
Hmm.
Whether they want to go one way or the other, I really do think he should have known that. And I think it's part of the plan. I just can't figure out what the plan is. Shout out to Lanson on our Discord. They were saying the same thing, shocking thing, but they just can't figure out what the plan is. And we'll talk again more about Lady G in a little bit, but I still, he's not our friend. He's not our homie, but I do like Psyche. I like his character. I like who
Hmm.
he is. He's the same guy that we met when I said, "All right, here comes my phone. I'm going to say he's one of our bros." Same guy, except he just isn't a bro. He's still the cool character. I
Yeah, he
like
really is
him.
cool.
I like him. He's just a cool antagonist.
Yeah. Any other comments, Paul?
I'll keep my comments more about Toranaga and how he reacts to this, all more with that Lady G scene.
Okay. Because the next direct thing we do see is JB hearing this news. He was there, but of course he didn't hear a single word that whole
Yeah,
freaking time. Like,
He
and
was,
Mariko
yeah,
was not translating. So
yeah.
we
right,
do get that quick scene of them talking and her explaining what the real situation is. And he just instantly goes into escape mode, which I actually really liked, where he was thinking of a way how him and Mariko could escape. Maybe he was even lumping in Fuji if he cared enough about her, but she shuts
right.
that down because she's like, there's absolutely no way. And then the next direct thing is we see him seeing the Erasmus getting taken over by Ishido's flag. So his escape path is gone. I don't think that's an option anymore. Never really was, but nothing surprising there, right? Like you guys didn't think
No,
Mariko's gonna be like, let's get out of here, freaking five in the, whatever.
that's the opposite
Uh,
of her character.
yeah. So that happens, and then a scene that I'm hopeful about, and I've been like a broken record about Yabu this entire season, going
Yeah,
up and down. Do I like him? Do I not? Do I think he's going to join our team? Do I not? And I think this next scene might push me back onto the side where there's no choice. Like Yabu gets confronted by Psyche, and he gives him
mm-hmm.
back the head of a general that he low-key sent to Shido to kind
Number
of
two.
explain the situation. Exactly, yeah. And to explain the situation away and make it so that Yabu was going to come out onto the council side. But that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like, you're going to
Yeah,
die now, basically. And I just hope that Omi and Yabu can get the fuck over themselves and just decide that they need to be with Toranaga because he just can't handle more chaos under his house. And that's really what we've been seeing. So
Totally for me, Yabu is 100% with Toranaga after this.
Yeah.
I
Been
mean,
saying
yeah,
that since the first episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Yabu's reaction to opening that was incredible. I mean, he didn't even say a single word, but he was like hesitant. He was like, I don't feel like doing and checking it. I already know what it's gonna be." Then he checks it and he starts giggling. He's like, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill you so hard. Like I just absolutely, as brutal as that scene was, I did like it a lot.
Agreed. He's
Yeah.
got to be on our side now.
Okay. So now we're gonna move over to that night after this news is spread. Everybody knows the deal that Toranaga is no longer really in power here. And then I think this is where we're at. Lady G coming into have her a stick of time and
Oh
the
yeah.
meeting where she's gonna lay it all out. You find out about her backstory that Jimmy kind of covered already. She just wants her end goal to be that in Edo, she wants to build the Guild of Courtesans and essentially just have like a block all to themselves. Which in modern day anime, I feel like you see that a lot, especially Demon Slayer, which has a specific season that takes place in one of these type of areas in a major city. But I didn't get enough out of this scene for me to be satisfied where I thought that Lady G was going to be part of the resolution. And maybe one of you guys has some sort of theory or idea of how she can play a part because it's not like the courtesans are trained assassins. Like they can't just like sneak in.
Yeah.
Maybe Kiku could be the exception or some of the like if we find out that she's part of Paul, what's it called? The Amoeba, the Buddha clan,
Buddha Amida. Yeah.
like if she's part of
Amoeba.
that, like maybe, but
Amoeba.
other than that, it just felt like Toranaga was being realistic and saying, I'm gonna be dead very soon. Like, what can I do for you
Yeah.
here? And yeah, that's pretty much my takeaway from the scene, which I felt like the writers were trying to speak to me more, but I couldn't get it. I don't know.
In my head, there was two ways. There's two things, I guess, that were like the point of that scene. My first take is that it's just her speaking to us, besides Tornaga, and kind of letting us know that it's so shocking that he is in this predicament and there must be a plan. I feel like her saying that is like letting us know that he's going to have a plan, but also letting us see his reaction to fake us out, where he's saying, you know, fate is what it is. My time is up pretty much. My stick of time is up, this and that. But then I also thought, okay, something's going to happen where she helps him. And I would have paid you I would have bet $1 million that Kiku was going to assassinate
Mhm.
Seiko in that final scene. Okay.
Me too.
I was not expecting her to let Nagakado in. I was expecting her to say, I could do some more for pleasure. Here's some more pleasure tools, and then just kill him. And then that was
Yeah.
going to be the point
Mm.
of what Lady G was saying she could do for Toranaga.
Yeah.
Now that that didn't come to fruition, I don't think they can do that. So I don't think that's even a thing anymore. You
Well,
can't just have Seiko go into another, Willow World room and get assassinated. So that's over. That whole thing is done. So my point now is I just think maybe it was her saying, "Yo, man, you should have had a plan. Like, how do you not have a plan? You're the great Tornaga."
like what is Kiku's like your if you can't reuse Kiku or Lady G in that way, what is their purpose? Because now like a huge part of the early part of this podcast was talking about Kiku and and if she was a spy for somebody in Osaka, could she have been Toranaga's spy? Is it kind of confirmed that she just was being sketchy and working as a spy for Lady G who can use her in these weird ways? Because
Yeah.
like you're saying, like how is she gonna I don't know. I don't think there's any answers that I have, but
Information's the currency,
Yeah.
and maybe Lady G uses Kiku to try to sway things the way she wants it, like how she was saying whatever she was saying, whispering in the ear of Omi and this and that
Mhm.
in the earlier
Mhm.
episodes. But
cover's
I
blown.
agree.
So
I
it's
thought she
like,
was
what
going
do
to
you
be a
do?
spy. And I mean, how is she not dead after this episode? How is Kiku not going to die? I mean, unless she runs away, she literally let Nagakado in to kill
Yeah.
Seiko who
Well,
doesn't die.
yeah.
Meaning
I
she
mean,
is a
Seiki, Jesus,
Toranaga
I'm saying
spy,
Psycho,
right?
Seiki.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
I-
hold
I'm
on.
butchering this name. My
Well,
goodness,
no,
Psycho, Psycho.
we're squishing those two scenes together. So, just to keep them separate for a second. Um, about just the whole assassination at the end, Lady Kiku. But what you're saying about there being more to the Willow world, 100% there probably is, because she opens this conversation with Toranaga with like, do you know what it means to be a part of the Willow world? And then goes into well, she goes in to describe everything that they give and the reasoning for her district that she wants. But I think there was an intention behind that where there is more going on behind the scenes. But this whole scene was, to me, proving to us that Toranaga is going along with a whole plan. To me, it was showing that Toranaga's power is that he's just an incredible actor. Like he's coming in here and he is pretending that he's not thinking about the future. He's like, "Oh, I don't have time for your shit because all I'm thinking about is tomorrow." But she's thinking about the future too, and she knows that he is, because why else would she be bringing this proposal to him, asking for a stick of time and all this other stuff? So she is so smart, and she knows how smart Toranaga is. She breaks it down about the spy. Why would you leave your already weakened garrison so exposed? And he doesn't even come back. All he says is, "Oh, like you assumed that I decimated my army with an earthquake." He doesn't really like say yes or no. And she's like, "Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood." But she was coming out there saying, "I know you have a plan."
Yeah.
And at the end, when Toranaga's writing a will, I think that's
Hmm.
why he throws her that land, because he's like, "Yeah, you know what? We are going to be around. She's going to be around. She has a good idea." So,
So let me ask you a question off the back of that, because I didn't even think of that angle as much of him playing up Tornaga, that is playing up everything he's doing in an acting fashion. Is there any world where his brother is in on this and this is all the plan?
well, I
Like,
honestly thought about that too, and I wanted to bring it up, but I thought it was too
Oh,
tinfoily. But
that's going to
nobody
be very
died.
interesting. Very interesting after when we get to the final scene.
right.
But because
But
Oh,
continue,
yeah, I
Paul.
guess.
no soldiers died, right? Like he didn't send his Saeki didn't send his army and kill any of Toranaga's soldiers. So I was also thinking, could they be putting on a show together?
Mhm.
And by Nagakado being the naive person he is, he fucked up this plan by going in and
Yeah.
killing his people before, and something he didn't even know about. I will say I'm not 100% on that, but it definitely seems like it could be a possibility, knowing how smart Toranaga is. He could have been like, "Hey, dude, we're gonna do this together."
We know as audience members that Nagakado is purposefully left out of all of Tornaga's schemings because he's just too immature. He's proven that every single
Yeah.
episode. So that would track.
Yeah.
And I think that would clean up almost every complaint I had about Toranaga as
Yeah.
a character. But is it are we too
I
far
don't
reaching
think
here?
it's that tinfoily, Paul, because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. When I said the final scene's a problem, it's not a problem for the plan in a way with how it was written, because Nagakata went rogue. And to your point, Luke, Nagakata doesn't know Toranaga's plan. If Toranaga has a plan, maybe Hiramatsu knows, but otherwise, it's going to be Toranaga and his brother if his brother's part of this plan.
Mhm.
And I want to apologize for everybody because he's Psycho, he's Psyche, Psycho, Seiki. So I think that it tracks because tell me, just think, take a second to think, what other way can this make sense, or can a plan be made? Like what other plan is there unless his brother's involved? I think we're all in agreement that we hope and we pray that he has a plan and it is all part of the plan, because
Mhm.
that just seems like Toranaga.
Dartboard throw, as just playing devil's advocate, because I also believe there's nothing there, is the Portuguese and some sort of Catholic alliance, which I don't know how they're going to get around Kiyama and Ono's part in that because they
He would
also are
never be friends
Catholic.
again with JB.
Oh yeah, JB would be thrown out the window, which could be why he's so cold to him all the time and not giving him a bone. But those are the only other established presence outside of Ishido and Ochiba that we know about. But I don't even that was just off the top of the head. I haven't thought that one all
Yeah.
the way through to actually believe it's a possibility. But
The one little tiny thing to add to that is the next scene we kind of get is Nagakado and Omi talking in the springs, just to jump ahead a little bit.
yep, you're fine.
And Saeki actually comes out, and he was eavesdropping the whole time, and he's like, "Ah, like, um, none of this was easy for me, you know. This could be more of Saiki just going into the act, but like, he is my brother, he is family. And at the end, he says, you know, death is not beautiful. It's just like a lonely path in the woods. And to me, that's kind of the same mindset as he doesn't want to fight and he doesn't want to kill anybody, right?
It's
Yeah.
wise, right?
And that's
He's
very
similar to
similar.
Toranaga. They have,
Exactly.
yeah, that's what you're gonna say. Yeah, we're two peas, bro. This is the important quote of the episode because it's when Nagakado says, "If we're gonna die beautifully," and Seiki is like, "There's no beautiful death, really, bro. You're gonna have to grow up a little bit," and that's where
Hmm.
he's in line with Toranaga. I didn't know if this was gonna be a scene where Seiki like really turned heel and was gonna kill Nagakado.
I thought the same. I literally said
Yeah,
the same thing out loud to Alki and
he
Dave
was
when we were
talking
watching. I was like,
shit.
did they just die?
Yeah,
Could have.
spineless
when he's talk
pigs.
when he's talking shit and then Seiki comes out, I was like, oh man, is he gonna kill him right here?
Right? And then there was another weird bathing scene that happened right before that where Yabu just gets all butt
Yeah, we
ass
just
naked
Yeah.
and
yeah,
bathes
man.
with the enemy, but
That's our boy.
there wasn't any words there to dissect, but just
I
two, the hot springs stole the show this episode.
You want to talk about what was the point of this scene? Somebody please explain to me Yabu saying, "Oh, there's not enough water to share," and stripping and getting in there and then chuckling. That was the whole scene.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, I mean, he literally
somebody give it to me.
pretends to draw his sword, so and they get all like, "Oh, what? What are you gonna do?" And
Yeah.
they draw their swords, and then he just like takes them
Yeah.
off and he gets butt ass naked and just gets in the
Yeah.
spring.
If it was to
Mhm.
show the tension, then it worked.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
The next scene is going to be the one I mentioned earlier in the podcast where I thought it was one of the most laugh out loud funny parts of all of Shogun so far is when they're on the beach. It's Yabu and
Mhm.
JB, and Yabu's just talking to himself because he knows JB can't hear him. And then he's like, you know what? Let's use that sword. I want to teach you how to use it. And then John says, oh, this appears to be occurring. And he
Yeah.
just like doesn't know what's happening. And he whips out the sword. He's holding it like a fencing sword. He gets his ass beat, obviously, but at the same
Mhm.
time, Buntaro is watching this all go down. And I think this is already after Omi planted that seed in his head at the
Yeah.
dinner where he's like, oh, like watch JB and Mariko. So he's looking extra hard at him here. And he almost executes him, but then he lets him go. So this is just like that isolated beach setting. Anything else you guys wanted to bring up besides how funny it was?
Dude, Yabu is
Uh-huh.
without a doubt the funniest character. He cracks me up. Everything that you said, and then when John's on the ground and he hits the sword out of his hand again, Yabu laughs. Then John kind of chuckles along with him, and Yabu kicks him, and he's like, "Why are you laughing?" And then,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then, and then at the end too, when Buntaro like storms away, Yabu looks at Johnny's like, if I wasn't here, you would have died. Like, you're
Yeah.
Yeah.
welcome. And it's like, you started this. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
He is money. I love him so much.
It's a great scene. Imagine being someone that can't understand Japanese and not knowing if this is a practice tutorial session or if he's actually trying to kill you.
Right.
And it was just hilarity.
So
And we're gonna get into the Bintaro stuff, so we can wait on that
Yeah. One more scene
high
until we
school
get there.
drama shit.
that's a perfect spot for me to ask you guys this though, because we've seen John kind of learning. This was earlier, like episode 3, episode 4. Mariko is trying to teach him Japanese, and he's trying to learn. Do you think there's any chance that he has actually learned a little bit of Japanese because he's been asking Mariko less and less about like what is he saying, what is he saying, and he's gonna straight out
He's gonna
say
pull Daenerys.
he's just going to converse in front of them and be like, "Hey, I kind of like picked up on this lately," or do you really think he has no idea what Yabu is
Well,
saying right here?
he definitely says things and he definitely understands certain things. And I think that part is to show us how much time is going by
Hmm.
and how much he's learning throughout. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the like the big scenes towards the end, 8, 9, 10, whatever, when it matters, is that after all this time he can now understand. I mean, he definitely has said a good amount in the last like 2 episodes.
Yeah.
He said you're all gonna die, and I mean, I know there's like the, hello, how you doing, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff, but there's been plenty of situations where he's saying things, and he, to me, sounds like he's saying it pretty good when he does say it. He doesn't sound like
Yeah.
he's butchering it. I mean,
The
certain times it's supposed to be a joke that he is, but other times when he's supposed to just be speaking with them, I think he's been doing pretty well. So yeah, if he pulls a Daenerys, that'd be pretty badass.
The intro to the episode when Toranaga is introducing John to Saiki, and he's like, "Oh, you trained the barbarian." What John says right there, seems like that was pretty flawless, and it seemed like Saiki was even really impressed by it too. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
The
Could
only
be.
way in my head it works is if it's in episode 10, because if it's anything before that, it eliminates Mariko's purpose early, and
Yeah.
that
Right.
his her purpose is to be his translator. So, but that's it. I don't really have anything else to add. You guys
Wow.
covered it.
How cute would that be? He's like, I didn't even need a translator all this time, but I was
I
pretending to
just
have
love
you
you.
around. Oh my
Aw,
God, we just figured it out.
Just
that'd
starts
be super
ripping
cute.
freaking poetic Japanese, just perfect grammar. That'd be amazing.
Fuck yeah.
This is the last little scene that we get before just we're gonna close out the episode with a couple of bigger important scenes here. And I guess it's important in hindsight now because this is Nagakato's last talking scene where he goes up to Fuji, who's training and looking pretty bad with that. I didn't write down the name of the weapon. It's not a spear, obviously.
Yeah.
He
Naganata.
Yes. So she's training with that, not looking too good, but her reason is like if everybody needs to fight, we're gonna basically be putting our lives on the lines here. But the important thing that Nagakato ends up saying is that he blames himself for Fuji's husband and child's death because he wasn't the brave one to stand up for his father all the way back in
Mm,
episode 1, which she doesn't blame him at all. She's a good person. Why
yeah.
would she blame him? I didn't take much from it. It was just that this was his last chance to really get its sort of redemption in his own head before he ends up going for Psyche's head and dying.
This scene to me, honestly, sheds some light on I forget his name, the one who spoke out episode 1, Fuji's
Todoyoshi?
Yeah.
Or
late
no,
husband.
it's Todoyoshi, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Todoyoshi. It shed some light on that other people actually respected him for doing it. Like
Yeah.
Nagakata was
We
saying,
called him a
like,
dumbass.
yeah, like I wanted to do it. Like I couldn't bear the disrespect that my father was getting from these insults, but I wasn't brave enough. So
Right.
in that fashion, I was thinking, why would this idiot say this if he knows this is going to be the outcome? But it does put a little bit more respect on everything.
Yeah, I
Let's
really
not.
wrote idiot as his name on my tree, and I never thought we would have to care about. I honestly didn't think we were gonna have to care about Fuji much after episode 1, but
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a very incorrect assumption.
Hell yeah.
Let's not throw the shade on Fuji with her weapon because Nagakata does say you shouldn't be practicing with this while you're still injured. So let's hope
Mm, true.
my headcanon is going to be that she actually is very good with it and she's just injured, but
If
she
she's
wasn't looking
trained
too
with
hot with it.
Mariko, then she's definitely gonna be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
damn good with it.
They sprinkled throughout this episode all the signs that Nagakata was going to do something rash,
Hmm.
and we'll get to it.
Yeah. These next couple of scenes are just, well, I guess it's one big scene. It's just a couple of characters moving in and out. Is Toranaga going over his will that Paul already mentioned, giving Lady G her wishes, writing all that stuff down? And we have part 1 where Buntaro and Mariko have the conversation, and then Toranaga or Buntaro himself leaves the conversation, and then it's just a Toranaga and Mariko conversation. So whatever you guys want to bring up first, we can just take it like that.
Buntaro's so funny, man. He's so blinded by hatred that he's not thinking things through. Like
Mhm.
he came in here and was like, "Please let me take the barbarian's head before all this is over." Why? And he has to explain why. Because I think him and my wife has something going on. So you're gonna kill your wife too? And he's like, "No, I'm only asking for his head." So
Mhm.
he's so for being as stoic and like warrior mindset as he is, there's obviously a lot of thoughts going on in his head, full of hatred. And we know he wanted to like kill John from the get-go, but
Mhm.
now it's becoming like it's just boiling over. Like he's not even be gonna be able to control it one day. He's just gonna fucking slice her. And it goes more into your point that he doesn't want Mariko to kill
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna
herself.
say.
He
Mhm.
wants her to live. He's like, fuck, man. If I cut this off, she's literally just going to end it. So it's, you're completely right. Like you saw this from episode 5 that is now just coming to life for me. Buntaro really cares about her.
In a twisted way.
Yeah. In a twisted way. And yeah, I can't see it not being your original idea, Luke, because now we're getting into the high school drama bullshit that I
Mhm.
don't know that I need in this show. where does it go? A throwdown with Buntaro and JB eventually? Maybe it's a cool scene, but JB should lose that if we're being completely honest.
Oh yeah.
I don't really understand the point except for like adding drama. I know that oh, Buntaro, maybe he's gonna be gone at some point because of whatever reason he dies, and now it frees up Mariko and JB to be together, and eventually they are gonna be together, and yeah, we're happy. But I I don't really see why I care about
Right.
Buntaro.
Yeah, I think it is for drama. It's exactly what you're saying. Like it might be a super now even more emotional sacrifice knowing that Buntaro actually does care about Mariko and he's still going out and going to sacrifice his life, assuming he dies in some battle coming up. Honestly, I'm just
Yeah.
saying definitely willing to wait and see, and I feel like there is going to be an emotional payoff, but
Mm.
it's not. Yeah, it is drama if you want to look at it like that.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of the second part of this conversation, I'm just I feel like Mariko just regressed as a character, and it doesn't even feel believable of why she regressed. Nothing, nothing happened that took away all of her character development she's been building up through six episodes. That she's now just telling Toranaga, "I've been loyal to you, but also like please grant my wish, and you be the one that grants my ability to kill myself." Right? Like that all happens here because she's not saying anything about JB. And she's not telling
Hmm.
Buntaro she's wrong because in the first part of the conversation she says my life is my husband's to take. So it's not like she's pushing
Yep.
back on anything. I'm just confused because
Mm.
this is like the lowest I've felt about Mariko since episode 1 or 2, whatever it is.
So I thought that what was going to happen in this scene was going to be a big emotional scene where Toranaga says, "What is between you and the engine, right? What's going on?" Okay, I guessed it right before the earthquake. You guys were bangity banging. All right, I know
Mhm.
what's good. Tell me what's good, right? I thought that when she like started to look really upset and said, "Please," what happens right before that is he says, "Me or JB." I thought her thing was going to be, "Please don't make me choose." Right? I
Mm.
thought it was going to be something crazy like that, where that's very dishonorable and against her character, but she does love JB. Coming from the scene in episode 6 where she's very upset with the Willow World scene, I thought her saying, "Please don't make me choose," was coming. And instead, we get, "Please allow me to take my life." And I brought this up in the intro. Like, you just put her in the back burner for most of the episode. She's our girl. We want her in the very front. And not only do you put her in the back burner, but when she does come to the front lines here, it's like you said, like a character regression. I don't understand how that conversation that she has with Tornaga in episode 6 didn't give her the purpose to say, "I'm going to live."
Right.
So
There's no explanation there for me.
I I do you guys keep saying the character regression and I get what you're saying and in a sense I do think she did kind of mentally regress, right? Because everything was happy when it was just her and John and then Buntaro came back and that's when everything really sets in because she has all that come flooding back and she is at her low point, right? She did sleep with John and after being a married woman to Buntaro, like she didn't know she was still married at the time, but looking back on it, she's in her head, she might actually be like, "Oh my God, I did cheat. I am dishonorable. Like I am not maybe I'm not a good person." Like maybe she is having those thoughts. So one, maybe she is going back to the every breath and every minute waiting alive is feels like
Mhm.
drowning because she is in a mentally low point. But also she could have brought this up now just to deflect what Jimmy, I think you were kind of touching on this. When Toranaga comes up, he says, like,
Yeah.
you're confusing your priorities. You got to choose. Are you with me or are you with the barbarian? And does he say barbarian there? I
I
have
was
in my
I
actually going
head.
to
think
ask you that.
I think he
I,
does.
I,
He
It's not
this
a
is his
friendly
most
thing to say, man.
emotional. Like
yeah,
this is the most emotional he's ever been. Like if in an
Yeah.
uncalculated way. So I think he was just freaking out and like everything's coming crumbling down. All of his advisors are having their own strifes that he has bigger things to worry about. So I think it just bubbled up. But yeah, he definitely was shitting on John a little bit in the way he was talking about him here.
definitely. And she just instead of answering that question, just pulls out the knife and says, "Please end it," and he just knocks it away. Says, "Not today."
No, I think you make some
Yeah.
good points about the mental regression being tied to Buntaro's return. It's just bothering me that it was such a good conversation that Toranaga had with her. Like, almost just take that
Yeah.
out and everything kind of
I
makes
agree.
sense.
I agree. I don't know. Like what? In episode 8, is she just gonna be like, I'm gonna follow my father's purpose again? I don't know why you have that conversation. Unless, Paul, you're right, and she is just deflecting because he says, pick one right now, pick one. And then she gives an emotional answer that distracts Tornaga.
Hmm.
But how do you explain that to us? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure you can, but you're gonna have to explain it to us in the next episode.
Okay, we got two more scenes here, and then this is the episode. So the next, I don't know if it's the next day or whatever it is, later that day, Toranaga holds political council, and his brother comes and he gives his decision. And nobody knows what he's going to say. Everybody thinks he's got plans and plans, like all of his advisors. This came completely unexpected to all of them when he says that he's going to give in to Ishida's order and go back to Osaka to face his judgment. And right away, JB's the only one that gets up. He's like, "What the hell is wrong with all of you? You're all dead.
Yeah.
Fuck Crimson Sky." And he walks out, which Jimmy, you brought up a good point that you were texting me, or maybe it was Lansing on somebody on Discord could have mentioned it as well, but we just talked about Totoyoshi getting killed for doing something like that to Ishida. Why would John not instantly be put to death as well?
I was worried. I was worried
So
something was going to happen.
So I think the big thing for Toriyoshi was that he spoke against a regent for Tornaga almost. So it was like you shouldn't
Insulting
have.
on his
Yeah, I mean,
behalf.
yeah, like he's insulting the regent on Tornaga's behalf, and Tornaga saying, whatever he said in episode 1, like, how dare you imply that they're being dishonorable to me or whatever. But
Mhm.
either way, it is an outburst, and we don't get the immediate answer to that. Like, we don't see what they're going to do to him yet. But yeah, I mean, he literally says, "You guys are all dumbasses. You're all going to freaking die." And he rolls out.
Yeah,
I'm surprised the brother didn't stop him. I don't know. I don't know
that
what
was
I expected.
more intense. I feel like if John insulted Saeki, the brother,
Right. Right.
then he
That's
would
the
have been,
problem.
Gotcha.
kill yourself right now. So, but yeah, I was like, man, ballsy. And like, I know Marco told John like he surrendered, but she didn't really translate a whole lot, and he kind of got up and he understood the whole vibe.
Yeah.
So I was like, were you catching on to more than like you were
You
leading
love
on?
this
I
he
do.
hidden
I mean, he
Japanese
does
speaking
say,
ability.
hey, he says you're all dead in Japanese to them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was funny because he's saying, "Behold, like the brilliant master of trickery." Um, but I feel like he's making fun of him, but I feel like he is tricking everybody. Like this, it
Yeah.
could be the big play. So
We hope so.
John's just making himself look
That's our
stupid.
hope, man. That is
Yeah,
our hope.
Make us look dumb as podcasters
yeah.
for
And
doubting him for even 1 second.
Crimson fucking
Yeah.
horse shit is the last line that John walks away.
Yeah. Any other comments for that scene? Because we're about to roll into Nagakato's death. If not,
Just that he's going to be the escort all the way to Osaka gates. So
Yeah.
it could be the escort, and all of a sudden you get to the gates, and he's not an escort
And it's
anymore,
Crimson Sky.
and he's an ally. It's just
I mean, you can Crimson Sky from a feint when it's they're showing up with their entire army, thinking they're bringing Toranaga as a hostage or whatever, and then you just storm. But
I mean, the only way they're winning this
you
is
gotta tell
trickery.
JB, you gotta get our boy in on this.
Yeah, yeah. The only way they're winning this is trickery. Like they're not gonna like outman him
and
here. So
Rodriguez.
I would be so
Roddy's got to be
happy
back, man.
if
He's got to be
he,
back.
he pulls up to the final fight, and all of a sudden he's manning cannons and shooting down the fort walls. Oh my god, I would lose
Dude,
it.
I can't wait until there's two different ships on the water and JB and Roddy look at each other and they say some crazy ass shit, insulting each other,
Fuck your mother.
smiling.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take it home. We've been hinting at it throughout this entire episode. We honestly talked through most of it already, but the entire tea house scene where Kiku lets Nagakato in and he is about to execute Toranaga's brother, but ends up slipping on a rock and bleeding out in the yard. So,
So
was it good for you guys? Was it surprising? Because I was like jaw on the floor, did not expect it to happen right there. I thought he had a shot of getting his first kill, if that is truly his first kill. Yeah,
Nagakado is so incompetent. You can't kill Seiki when he's no sword, no weapon. All of your men come in and you're attacking
somersaults.
him
Yeah.
and you slip and fall and die. He had him. If
Dude,
you
it
can't
was
even do that
painful.
right, you got a problem, bro.
It was painful. So I don't think he slipped on the rock. I think he slipped on the long tails of Saiki's robe or gown. I don't know the proper name for it.
I thought
But
I thought you were like going with some kind of joke, like his like
no,
his long.
no. I genuinely think that's what happened because even before that, when Kiku leaves, she's like, "Ooh, I got some fun tools. Let me go get them." Which yeah, we can go more into that. Like, what's going to happen with her? Did she let everybody in? Was that just good timing? But anyway, um, Saiki goes
What
to
kind of
grab
tools is it, Paul?
the robe. Oh, you don't want to know. You're not. Don't ask. You're not ready. But
I'll tell you when you're older.
he puts on the robe and the camera focuses on the bottom of it and how bunched up it is. And I don't know if there was like more of a meaning behind that. Like he shouldn't have had that robe in the first place because it didn't fit him properly or whatever. But they showed that
Hey,
a little bit. And then at the very end, I think Nagakado actually does slip on that. And that's what does him in. I don't know what meaning that could possibly have, though.
still pathetic.
Oh,
either
terrible.
way,
Terrible.
it's just a rash decision from one of the worst characters in the show. You feel
Hmm.
bad for the guy, maybe, but
Not really.
I mean, you had him. If that's your plan, I'm not saying it's a good plan. I don't know what happens to that army if all of a sudden their leader is assassinated. I really don't know how that works. You know, if number two just shows up and is like, "Well, now I'm gonna be the
Mm.
person escorting you, Toranaga. You did nothing. You killed five guys. We have 5,000, whatever." I don't know, but the fact that he, rolls in like that, he puts this robe on that you're talking about, Paul, and then he gets attacked. And these guys have the element of surprise, no weapons, and you still can't take them out. It's a
Yeah.
damn shame for Nagakado. And it's a interesting question that you asked, Paul. Did Kiku let them in? Was it great timing? Did Lady G think that this is the plan? I mean, if Kiku's involved, I know maybe culturally this dishonors the courtesans and everything. Like if you turn one into an assassin when she's not supposed to be an assassin or something. Like I don't know any of that kind of stuff, but it just seems like a shitty plan if Kiku is involved because now she is dead. He's
So
alive. He thinks either way that she let them in, so she's going to be dead.
yeah,
Hmm.
my question is like, how'd she even know? It seems like she was really in on it. Like we're not 100%, but the way that she was like, "Let me go get something. I'll be right back," and everything
Yeah.
happens makes it seem like she really is. And like, did Omi talk to Lady G Gin, and Omi talked to Nagakado, and then Omi talked to Kiku, and that's how the Nagakado and Kiku set it up? Because like it seems like they need a middleman. Nagakado wouldn't go directly to Kiku and be like, "Hey, let's do this." So I wonder if there was more to the setup than led on. Like Omi was actually really involved. But yeah,
Yeah.
like what would have happened if they did it and Saeki was actually on our good side, like we were talking about? Like
Yeah.
that would have been terrible. But then just to go against that argument, why wouldn't Saeki say right there to Nagakado, "Hey, I'm actually working with your dad. This is all a ruse." That would
Honor,
be my
man.
biggest argument against it.
That could have been the bath
Yeah.
scene, like earlier.
True.
Yeah.
Either way, I feel like if you make a deal or some kind of agreement with Toranaga, we talk about honor and all this stuff throughout this entire season. I just think that if they say to each other, we're not going to tell anybody else, just because you're alone with Nagakado or even about to get killed, doesn't mean necessarily that he would say, "Hey, man, I'm part of this. Don't kill me." I mean, it all is happening fast too. So I don't know. But the thing that we have here now is two scenarios. One is that, Paul, you're right, and Seiki is a part of this plan, and that's the grand plan. And Toranaga is going to be like, Jesus, Nagakata just died for no reason. Or Seiki's not part of the plan. Maybe Toranaga was actually going to surrender himself, and now he gets a fire lit under his ass because his son is killed. I don't know if that's really. I
He
feel like
doesn't
he would
seem
just
like
be
a
like, my
good enough
son was dumb.
motivation. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like he would just be like, my son was dumb and rash. He shouldn't have done that, and he'll be
yeah.
upset, but not. So I don't
Mm.
know.
And had toddler feet. Well, yeah, man, and I definitely think that affects everybody's view on this episode, right? Is because the last thing we see is Nagakata smash his head, and we're like, damn, really? Like
Hmm.
out of all the ways that we were talking
But that,
about,
I
like
mean,
that's
it's
how it
poetic
goes.
though
It
for
is.
him. That's all
Where's
he wanted, was to do something crazy for the storybooks. And what happens? He slips and he falls and he hits his head and he bleeds out. And just
Yeah.
like Seiki says, nothing beautiful about that.
Mhm. Beautiful. What a way to end.
That's the freaking episode. And I said I was going to do this on the last podcast, this podcast, Jimmy, for you, because we're not getting out of here
Yeah.
without putting you through the ringer of having a way harder time to decide your top 4 favorite characters, because this episode probably would have changed my list from episode 6
Yeah.
coverage. So before we get out of here, just what's your gut reaction? How are we feeling? Give me your top 4 favorite characters.
So as of last week, you asked me, and Toranaga number one, JB number two. I don't think that's changed for me, even
Hmm.
though JB didn't get to do that much this episode. My number three was Mariko, and my number four was Oshiba. I thought she killed it in what she's been doing so far. Fuji and her are just fighting. I don't know if
Most
it was recency bias of last week, but I had Oshiba as number four when you asked me last week.
hmm
Let's do some more recency bias and take Oshiba out for now because she didn't really get anything to do this episode. I'm still going Mariko number three because I have faith that she's going to end up being fine. I'm not happy with her direction, but I think she's going to be fine. And everything she's done so far, I love her. I think I'm going to put Yabu and slide him into number
Yeah.
four.
great
Comic
answer. That's a good
comic
answer.
Sliding him into
relief.
number four.
Love it.
And let me also, while we're here, I talked about Ashiba for a second. I want to throw something at you. I threw it at Luke last week. And really quick, let me jump on the YouTube channel because someone ruined it for me. And I was going to bring it up last episode because you know that I'm Theory Town and that's all I love to do. I wanted to throw this theory at you guys. Don't know if it matters. Don't know if it's even a thing, but Steel 803254 commented on our YouTube channel at BingetownTV podcast saying Lady Oshiba was impregnated by someone else. The Taika was sterile. At least that's what I got from the whole Hundreds of Tried scene.
Hmm.
My theory that I wanted to bring up was that yes, the Taika was sterile. He couldn't have kids. Hundreds have tried. And Lady Oshiba says F fate, and she decides on herself to get impregnated somehow by anybody else. Doesn't have to be a character in the show. Literally, just get impregnated. It's a huge risk to her because if she's caught sleeping with someone else while she's trying to have the heir for the Tycho, she's dead. But if she succeeds, the entire status that she has right now is what she was aiming for.
hmm
I don't know if that's just going to be like, I mean, it could be like a, hey, I'm going to reveal this as a side note. I can't see how it's like a huge thing for the show, but I feel like it would be cool for her character just to show more so that she's saying, screw fate. I'm going to go from wherever I am to even higher. I mean, we talked about how, it's not like her status was low or anything. She was the previous ruler's daughter, but, being the person who has the heir for the Tycho, it changes her whole status. It changes her whole name, right? I mean, and she wanted that for herself. She decides, I'm going to take it.
And it would make sense if that was the play, because then she cares less about the last Tycho's warnings and how he wanted to run things. She just wants the power. She wants the ownership of the dynasty of the future heirs. So that could work. But I also think Paul brought it up on the podcast that the last Tycho's actual wife was giving her all these herbs that
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
she was implying was messing with her body, and that could have been what she was hinting at when she said that I put my body through so much. But
Oh
I
yeah,
also do
that
like the
definitely could
idea
be
of
that.
the
Yeah.
reverse flip pregnancy because
Hmm.
that's just fun politics.
Yeah,
Right.
not actually his son. Yeah,
Yeah,
love that would be crazy.
born of blonde hair.
Kind of, yeah. It always fucking comes back, man.
Yeah, for real. All right, that's about it. Jay Sping, you can take us home.
All right, guys. Anything else? No theories, no nothing. We're good. We're gonna wait till next week. Shogun's not today. It was yesterday when we watched it. It wasn't last week either because I wasn't on the pod, but it'll be next Tuesday. All right, guys. If you like what you heard, check us out at bingetowntv.com. Like I said earlier in the intro, we love talking to all of you. If you want to join the Discord, that link is in the description, or you can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Any of it will answer as long as we can see it. Sometimes we miss it, but if you hit us up enough, we definitely will see it. We answer everybody we can. If you're new to the podcast, we cover so many different shows. All you have to do, check us out, bingetowntv.com, or subscribe at Bingetown TV on any of your favorite podcast apps. Once again, we are Bingetown TV. We have 3 episodes left. We can't wait. Thank you so much for listening.